The air in our bedroom hung heavy, thick with the quiet of a house too still for midnight. I stood by the bed, the sheets still tucked tight from this morning, untouched by sleep. "Let's go to sleep, love," I said, my voice soft, almost pleading, as if I could coax the warmth back into her. Clara stood by the window, her silhouette sharp against the moon's pale glow, her arms crossed tight like she was holding herself together. She turned, her eyes catching the dim light, and her lips parted. "I will," she said, her voice a blade wrapped in silk, "but not with you." Then she walked out, the front door clicking shut behind her, leaving me in a house that suddenly felt like a stranger's. My knees buckled, and I sank onto the edge of the bed, the springs creaking under my weight. Her words echoed in my skull, sharp and cold, slicing through the fog of exhaustion. "Not with you." What did that mean? My chest tightened, a fist squeezing my lungs, and I stared at the empty doorway, half expecting her to walk back in, laugh, and say it was a cruel joke. But the silence stretched on, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator downstairs. I pressed my palms into my eyes, trying to rewind the moment, to unhear her words, but they clung to me like damp clothes. Clara had been distant for weeks, maybe months. I'd noticed the way she lingered at her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen as if guarding a secret. The late nights at work, the sudden need for space during our evenings together, the way her laughter felt rehearsed. I'd chalked it all up to stress. Her new job at the gallery demanded long hours, she'd said, and I believed her because I wanted to. Because love is a fool's game, and I'd been playing it for 8 years. I stood, my bare feet cold against the hardwood, and wandered to the window where she'd stood. The street below was empty, the sodium streetlights casting pools of orange light onto the pavement. Her car was gone. I hadn't even heard the engine. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. A ghost of a man, eyes hollow, mouth slack. Where had she gone? The question gnawed at me, a dull ache spreading from my chest to my fingertips. The house felt too big, too quiet. I moved downstairs, my steps heavy, each one landing like a verdict. The living room was a museum of our life together. Photos on the mantel, her scarf draped over the couch, a half-empty coffee mug with her lipstick on the rim. I picked it up, the ceramic cool against my palm, and traced the faint red stain. She'd kissed me with those lips this morning, a quick peck before rushing out the door. Had that been a lie too? I set the mug down too hard, and it chipped against the counter. The sound jolted me, and I grabbed my phone, scrolling to her name. My thumb hovered over the call button, but pride or fear stopped me. Instead, I opened her texts. The last one was from this morning, "Running late, don't wait up." I'd read it at work, smiling like an idiot, thinking she was just caught up in a meeting. Now the words felt like a code I'd been too blind to crack. I sank onto the couch, the leather creaking under me, and tried to piece it together. There'd been signs, hadn't there? The way she'd started locking her phone, the new perfume that clung to her clothes, the way she'd flinch when I touched her unexpectedly. I told myself it was nothing, that marriage ebbs and flows, that love bends but doesn't break. But now, with her words ringing in my ears, I saw them for what they were. Cracks in the foundation I'd ignored until the house came down. The clock on the wall ticked past 1 a.m. I paced the living room, my socks sliding on the polished floor. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the only person here was me, and I had none. I stopped at the bookshelf, my eyes catching on a photo from our honeymoon in Maine. Clara's hair was windswept, her smile wide as she held a lobster, her laughter frozen in time. I'd taken that photo, my hand steady, my heart full. Now my fingers trembled as I touched the frame, as if I could reach through the glass and pull that moment back. I don't know how long I stood there before I heard the key in the lock. My heart lurched, and I turned, the photo still in my hands. Clara stepped inside, her coat damp from the mist outside, her face pale but composed. She froze when she saw me, her eyes flicking to the photo, then back to my face. "You're up," she said, her voice flat, like she was stating the weather. "Where were you?" My words came out sharper than I meant, raw with the hours of waiting, of imagining. She hesitated, her fingers tightening on her purse strap. I needed air. I went for a drive. A drive? I set the photo down, my hands shaking. At midnight? After saying that to me. Her jaw tightened, and she looked away, her gaze settling on the floor. I didn't mean it like that, David. Then how did you mean it? I stepped closer, my voice rising despite myself. Because it sounded like you were leaving me, like you were going to someone else. Her eyes snapped to mine, and for a moment, I saw something, guilt maybe, or fear. But then it was gone, replaced by a hardness I didn't recognize. You're overreacting, she said, but her voice wavered, a crack in her armor. Am I? I laughed, a bitter sound that hurt my throat. You've been pulling away for months, Clara. The late nights, the locked phone, the way you look at me like I'm a stranger. Tell me I'm wrong. She didn't answer. She just stood there, her silence louder than any confession. My chest burned, and I wanted to shake her, to make her say it, to rip the truth out of her. But I didn't. I just waited, the air between us thick with unspoken words. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been seeing someone. The world tilted. My vision blurred, and I gripped the back of the couch to steady myself. Who? I managed, my voice a stranger's. It doesn't matter, she said, her eyes glistening now, tears catching the light. It's over. I ended it tonight. That's where I was, saying goodbye. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the betrayal was a knife in my gut, twisting with every word. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why wasn't I enough? She flinched, and for the first time, I saw the Clara I'd married, vulnerable, human, flawed. It wasn't about you, she said, her voice thick with tears. I was lost, David. I didn't know who I was anymore. He made me feel seen. But it was a mistake. I swear I love you. Her words were a lifeline, but they burned. I wanted to hold her, to forgive her, but the image of her with someone else, someone who wasn't me, clawed at my mind. I turned away, my hands clenched into fists. I need time, I said, my voice hollow. I can't do this right now. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and slipped out of the room. The front door didn't open again, but I heard her footsteps on the stairs, retreating to the guest room. I stood alone in the living room, the photo of us in Maine staring up at me. The man in that picture felt like a stranger now, someone who believed love was enough. But as the clock ticked toward dawn, I realized the truth. Love doesn't break, but trust does. And once it's gone, you're left picking up the pieces in a house that's no longer home.